Hello, horror fans. Now, a little while ago, I did an unboxing video where I got a collection of DC comics, a collection of them. And I said that I'd do a review. Today, I finished the second book. Yes, I know I'm taking my time because I've got stuff to do. So I'm going to do a review of the first two books today, but I'm going to do them in separate videos. So stick around and find out what I'm saying. All right, I'm back. Now, Volume 1. Voodoo Vengeance and Other Stories. Look at this. Look. Nice little hardback book. Now, it has something like 20-something issues in it. They're all written by Johnny Craig, storyteller. All right, let's back up. EC Comics. I don't know if the people watching know what EC Comics was. EC Comics started out as educational comics. I think it was back in the 30s, and somebody or other, Gaines, started it, and they did all these, comics about. They would reprint old classical literature stories like Scarlet Pimpernel, all these old, I want to say Fantasy Island, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what it was. But, you know what I'm talking about, these old stories, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Count of Monte Cristo. But they didn't sell well. The guy died, and he willed the comics to his son, who really didn't want to do the stuff, but his mom talked him into it, and he's like, you know what? Screw this stuff. I don't want to do this. Let's do some interesting things. And boom, he started doing horror, which became the big thing in the 40s and the 50s. Horror, westerns, mysteries. And these things lasted for years until the whole congressional shit that started saying, all these bad things are corrupting the youth. And started the Marvel Comics, the Comics Code. So they had to fall back. And so each book is a collection of different stories, of different artists' stuff. This one is Johnny Craig. Johnny Craig, according to the little section in the front, was the cleanest of the artists. And when they say cleanest, they don't mean not dirty. As in, Andrew Dice Clay was considered a dirty comic because of his language. Bill Cosby would be considered clean because he didn't swear. Okay, Bill Cosby was an example of the language, not anything else. When they say clean, they're talking about his lines, his drawing. It was incredible. All right? And it took him a little bit longer to do his stuff because of how good his art was. I mean, this is some really good stuff. I mean, it's just crisp, sharp, and there are times he wrote his own books, wrote and then drew them. Sometimes he just drew them, and it would take him a little longer because of how good he was. Despite that, he was, you'd think that he wouldn't last long. He lasted longer than every other artist at EC because he was hired by Reuben Gaines' father and worked his way through the whole thing until that whole congressional shit started, and then moved into what eventually became Mad Magazine. But this whole book, there's like 20-something stories in here, all drawn by him and some of them written. And these are... All right, right here. This right here. The Vault of Horror. I forgot to mention this earlier. Some of these things, the EC Comics, influenced what became, Tales from the Crypt and Creepshow. The Crypt Keeper is one of the 3 people who would introduce these books. And he'd sit there and do the setup, boom, they do the story, and then boom, do the closing out on the stinger at the end. I think for Tales from the Crypt and all these other things, they just wanted to keep one character as opposed to the 3 that they had in these books. The Crypt Keeper, the Witch, and one other person. But this book right here is just unbelievably good. I think I enjoyed every single one of these stories, some more than others, but there wasn't a bad one in this one. I loved them. There's from, Voodoo Vengeance and, vampire stuff, werewolf stuff, murders. And each one of these things, they're going along, boom, boom, boom. You think you know where they're going, then all of a sudden, boom, complete left turn at the end. It's like, okay, did not see this coming. That is how these stories work. They were just so good. And I think a lot of the writing these days doesn't match up to them. But this one right here, book 1, 4.5 out of 5. I might reread it later, but I need to finish up 3 and 4. But anyway, have you read these books right here? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and even if you don't, enjoy your comics.